to begin.
Thank you, Stella. As she said, my name is Jack DeHaven. I am a fully licensed wealth advisor with Oak Partners. I have 21 years of professional experience in the business world and have been here at Oak Partners for the past 3 years and plan to be here the next 20 years until it's time to retire. Before I introduce the panelists here with me today, I first want to say thank you to BACP for allowing us to conduct this educational seminar and get in front of all of you. We are very grateful for the opportunity that Geraldine Catino Bennett has provided for us, as well as Stella's assistance here in the webinar today. For those that don't know Geraldine, she is the project coordinator for outreach and education for the city of Chicago, and she's been instrumental in helping us get this set up. So thank you, guys. On to our panelists. Joining me today are Rosemary Aitken and Mike Barancic. Mike is a senior partner and wealth advisor with Oak Partners, having joined the firm 22 years ago. Rose has become part of our team recently, merging her advising business that she founded in 1986, Aitken Associates Ltd, with Oak Partners in 2022. I'll allow them to expound on their personal careers, but I'll give you a little background on Oak Partners. As a firm, we have 6 offices across 3 states. We currently have clients in 39 states and are looking to add to it and make it all 50 before too long. At this point, though, I think it's time we should get started and address why you guys are here with us. And that's for today's webinar, which is best practices for businesses to grow within their community. So as we open, the first question I would ask the panelists is, in your experience, what are some of the commonalities that the most successful business or community-based businesses follow? Rosemary, do you want to start?
Oh, yes, I'd be pleased to. In my career, my situations, I found that the most valuable interest that an owner can have is the people that they surround themselves with. And what I found from that also is an opportunity to form what we called an advisory committee. And the advisory committee was made up of the particular accountant that made sense for a small business like mine, and an attorney that made sense for a small business like mine, as they were both in those same areas. And I followed that up with 2 or 3 individuals that had succeeded in my community by using similar plates that I used or processes that I was using. And those taught me an awful lot because they were a little bit different. They were in it longer than I was and showed me an arrow that I could follow. Along with those, I also had a person who could put me online better, a WebEx person, a social media individual. And with working with those as a team and together, plus reaching out into the community helped a lot too. The community brought to me an opportunity to help not-for-profits through donations from larger companies, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But it reached out to a point where I could suddenly go from being one person to having somewhere around 30 people interested in helping me. And that in itself took about maybe 5 years, maybe 6 years to develop that. And it grows as you grow, meaning the need gets higher. So the attorney has to be a little sharper, maybe one that works with middle range businesses, and to bring them into the starlight of maybe being growth double. It all depends on what your obligations are to yourself and your obligations that you have to get to that goal you're making. And the party of those 7 or 8 people that we meet at that time in the beginning, about every 3 months, and communicated in between. So it is really a force that enables you to realize you can't do it all yourself. You just cannot do it all yourself. It has to be an ongoing team that grows as you grow and come to the table with good ideas. That really worked for me very well, up to now even.
Well, that's great. Mike, obviously we work closely together. I know you have had quite a bit of experience dealing with business owners in the community here. What are some of the successful traits of the business owners or their processes?
Well, as Rosemary stated, I think it's a fantastic idea to formalize what most successful people do, and that's learn from others, right? We have to have mentorship with people that have been there before. If we're not taking advantage of other people, successes and failures, getting advice from them on a day-to-day basis, reaching out to them when we have questions, and then we're probably not going to succeed, because no one can reinvent the wheel. It's been done. You could just refine it. And so as you go, as the business continues to grow, as Rosemary said, you've got to continue to readjust who your mentors are, right? Because some of those mentors you will surpass if you're successful in business strategies and business practices. And so it helps to provide that exchange, because now they're getting something from you. It has to be mutually beneficial. It can't be all one-sided. And whether that's emotional support or business support or referral business back and forth, I think it's really, really important that you're reaching out into your community and providing and getting those professionals that Rosemary started with, and then growing it. And occasionally, at times, that means let's have a dinner meeting where I'm going to pick up the bill because I feel that I value you, and I understand that you have helped me grow. And this works with all types of businesses, and I'm certain that we have many, many different types of businesses on the participants on the webinar today. Whether you're a firm that does accounting or finance, or whether you're a firm that sells toys, building that relationship with people in your community that can help you grow is essential and important.
And I guess to follow up on that, because you guys have both talked about how that advisory panel, if you will, evolves over time. Is there, for business owners, how do you know when it's time to maybe make a change within that group? Or is it something where it's pretty apparent, or is there keys to look for? Mike, maybe touch on that.
Yeah, certainly. It's very important, because if you don't continue to add those more complex pieces to the puzzle, then you're going to just run in place like a hamster wheel. And what we need is for you to hit the ground running and then move forward. And so it will become a natural evolution. You will know when you aren't really getting the value from the individual that is on your advisory committee. You will know when you have grown to the point where you maybe need some additional tax strategies, some ways to save funds for that expansion and growth. Or if you're just spending money from your business and not putting it towards that growth, then maybe that's what is going to happen, is that you're going to stay at that same level and not grow. Mm-hmm. And if that's what you want, if you've created a job for yourself, that's fantastic, right? Because you're your own boss. But if you want to continue to grow and ensure that that's not just a job, but a healthy, growing business, one that where you are providing value, so that at some point down the road, maybe you can even package and sell that business to someone else, unlock that value, and then retire or move on to the next phase of your life, then you need to continue to expand. You need to make sure that that business can operate without you. And that's the key, is ensuring that that business operates on its own. And then you know that you've created something special, something that is valuable, something that can transcend you.
Great. And Rosemary, how about for you, either personally or for your clients that you've dealt with over the years? Have you seen this as part of the process, this evolution updating your advisory panel? And how did that work in your experience?
I found that the more I reached out into the community to give back, the more I got back, and more new ideas outside of the advisory committee that I could bring to the table with them and have them go over it and improve that particular idea. I can share a couple with you that have occurred over the years. I sat on maybe 2 volunteer boards over the career that I've had so far. And both of them were middle range type of not-for-profits. They weren't the big statement ones. Although the big statement ones were clients of mine when I only did insurance. So I was able to teach them to help the younger not-for-profits. And then by doing that, I also had a couple of corporations that had non-voting stock that, when sharing my contacts with the not-for-profits, gave them an opportunity to donate that maybe 500 shares of stock to that particular not-for-profit. And it helped that not-for-profit immensely in terms of their financial needs. And it helped the company financially for the tax situation. And then from those larger corporations, they came on board as the follow-up on the, once I retired 1 or 2 of the advisors on the board. They came on board gladly because they saw that we were exchanging ideas and bringing them together. And that lasted for me for over 15 years. And then I added on to that, as I mentioned earlier, an opportunity for greater marketing, getting out there on the web and also getting out there through other venues. But the big one was, please think about getting involved in your community, because everyone, as Mike said earlier, everyone needs help once in a while. Even the bigger companies need it, to have a venue to look at and see where they can be helpful. And it occurs at every level of a business, whether you're just starting, whether you're full blossom, or whether you're thinking of selling it to a bigger practice or bigger business. The community is your background, and the advisory committee is your solar people that are really going to bring ideas to the table that will help you get there faster.
That's great. And actually, you touched on something that I was going to bring up here shortly, and that's getting involved in the community via community-based charities. But before I ask Mike about his experience with that, I wanted to check in with Stella. Are there any questions in the chat box?
As of right now, there are no questions, just a comment for Rosemary saying that they liked your statement.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you. I'd be pleased to talk with that person later.
Also, the discussion on advisory committees, as Rosemary indicated earlier, it goes both ways. Recommending you sit on some of those businesses' advisory committees as well. And so that gets you to provide value to them, to meet other people in their sphere of influence and circle of friends. And then that in turn just becomes an organic growth machine. And so if you're recommending that these businesses that are helping you, that you can do the same for them, it just continues to expand and compound. And that's really, really powerful. And as far as you sitting on committees, it shows your importance in the community. And then as a fiduciary, when I sit on, I'm legally bound to recommend things that are in their best interest. So, for example, I sit on several boards and work with quite a few special needs charities to try to give back, not just monetarily, but also with time. And so even if you're a fledgling business and you say, I really can't afford to write a check to help contribute, you can have some time and you can set aside some time to ensure that that they know that you are in this with them, right? Not just for yourself, right? So being in that that community with your valuable time, because we all know that's the one thing we can't mint is more time in the day. It allows you to one, fulfill yourself with some sense of purpose and need, because as we grow, we're going to have less and less time. So every minute of it is valuable and important. Mm-hmm. And these charities, these non-for-profits, again, whether it be a cleaning up the park scenario, or whether it be a scenario of a special needs school, you can find something that you have passion for and create that outreach program that will give back to you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mike. It's being part of the team here, I've seen so much of getting involved in the community and the emotional benefit that it provides for you as an individual, but also getting connected with a lot of heavy hands or big players within the business community, because those are the people that have the financial resources to support those said charities. And it's been great for you. Rosemary, I know you've talked a lot about that and the benefits that you've seen in getting involved in that type of work. Is there any specific cases you wanted to touch on today?
I had quite a few turnabouts over the years where I was able to introduce one business to the other, and one was a supply delivery truck business, and the other one was a gentleman who was starting out to do tracking for the big trucks that go back and forth, and they had separate individual businesses, and I introduced them to each other, and when they got together, the business just exploded. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. He had maybe 4 or 5 trucks that he used, and this is down to earth stuff, guys. This isn't high in the sky. These are things that go on every day. We just need to keep our eyes open and be aware of those situations right in your own community. It could be, I met this individual back in many years ago. I won't tell you how long, but what it ended up in is that we were both at the same restaurant at the same time, and I heard the discussion of the one trucker, because he wasn't the one that was my client, and I went over and excused myself and introduced myself to him, and then he gave me his card, and then from then on, that's what happened. It's not that I kept my ears open on their conversations. It was that I knew that there might be something there. And the validity of that is that they grew and they magnified themselves to be able to truck outside the states and then become cross-nation truckers. That is a down-to-earth one. The other one was one where I did reach out into the community and was able to help in a different way, and that was to start something at a very small level, and that was doing financial planning for the clients, something above and beyond asset management that touch you deep down in all of your goals and dig deeply and find a place for everything where you want to be. And a lot of that I found with it was up to me, and I decided to partner with both Mike and Jack because they're exactly what fit into my slot. And that's going to help those clients even better. And they're going to refer that kind of personality out to all their attachments and all their friends. And I already have. It's amazing what you do if you do it correctly. Get involved in the community however you can. It could be something like you're a dog walker and they recognize you. Well, be a little more recognizable and do something more gracious. Or if you're out there and you've got a part-time job, look at doing something, a volunteer work for somewhere, even a Girl Scout, Boy Scout, whatever it is, I'll tell you, there are people that are waiting there for you. They are waiting there for your guidance, like they did for Mike and as they did for me.
Great answer, Rosemary. Geraldine, Stella, it looks like there might have been a few comments or questions that came in. Did we want to address those? The one I see is from Melissa, and she wants to know a little bit more about back-end operations. Can you touch on that at all, Mike?
Sure. Well, as we discussed prior to this, this is the first part of a series, right? So we're talking about exterior of your business. How can you grow the front end of your business? How can you continue to expand that front end of your business? But your question is extremely important because it's something we're going to expound on very, very greatly in our next series. But the discussion on the back end of the business, if your front end grows so quickly that you can't, that you aren't adjusting the back end, you will fail, right? And so you have to consistently look to improve your operations, to streamline your efficiency, and to understand that as you've added to the front end of your business, you've got to continue to add personnel and efficiencies and technology to the back end. And so whether you're a snow removal company that gets 20 customers a day, but only have 2 people to service those, you're quickly going to not be able to do a great job for the customers that you've brought on. And so if that's the case, you're going to fail. Those customers that you brought on will, 1, leave you because they're not being serviced properly, or 2, tell others that you don't really do a great job. And then you will just end up failing or petering out. You have to start to understand when you're stretched and then add. And typically it's like the field of dreams, right? If you build it, they will come, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got to build the back end to ensure that you are able to service the front end. So it's the old adage, sales versus operations, right? Operations is easy because people typically don't want to go out and get rejected, and so if the sales are good enough that it keeps the operations busy enough, then it kind of stagnates, right? So you have to either have a partner that can do the other if you're doing the front end, or you've got to be a really good juggler, right? And you've got to make sure that you're building that back end in conjunction with how much that front end is growing. And the last several years, it's been very, very difficult, I'm sure, for everyone on this call, with adding personnel that are qualified and quality, and whether they're trained or not, whether they're educated or not at it, how you want your business to run. And so it's really incumbent and important on you to direct them properly. Even if they came from a very similar business, you're the one that needs to make them successful. You're the one that needs to make sure that you're teaching them, outlining for them, and organizing them to do the things that you want them to do. Again, we prefer to start from scratch with individuals because they learn exactly what we are doing and how we are doing it and what we expect of it. And so there's no ambiguity when you say, well, this is what we were planning on doing. This is what we had talked about doing. And they say they were doing something different. That's not to mean that they can't bring great ideas to the table, because you've got to continually learn. The day you stop learning, the day you stop improving, and the day you stop refining is a day that your business stagnates. And so going to that, building that back end, explaining to them how to do it, outlining it for them in written form so that there's no ambiguity, and then consistently going back to them with approval, with corrections, and with that attaboy, right, or attagirl, good job, you did exactly what we wanted you to do, and then some, and then you have to compensate them properly for it. So if you have a person that you hired and they are working above and beyond, compensate them for it. Provide them with small bonuses. Give them a half a day off here or there. All of those things add to the emotional bank account. And therefore, then when it is time for them to be upset about something maybe that you did, or you had to make a correction on something that they did that they really weren't comfortable with, because you've added to that emotional bank account, they can take a little withdrawal, and it's not like they want to leave.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, making sure your employees are happy and bought into what you're doing. When people are invested in what they're doing, they tend to just produce better work. And so whatever motivates them, finding that trigger is extremely important, as you just touched on.
Jack?
Rosemary, anything to
Yeah.
add to that?
Oh, I'd love to, because Mike brought up a wonderful paragraph that I want to repeat because it is very valuable to be heard again. And that is part of that back end, a very strong part of that back end will be the build up to it, like Mike said, maybe 5 years ahead of time or so. And you will be grooming your advisory committee to that very event. And they will then, as Jack said, bring a whole lot of, maybe a whole lot, but several ideas on the best way to come out of it feeling wonderful on both sides, the people who are there, and by either selling it or merging it or whatever, that team has to represent that project that is most important to you, which is what is the best way to solve this pleasantly and get from it what I want to be able to get from it, and have everyone who helped me feel the same way. So that advisory team, that advisory council, that advisory committee, whatever you wish to call it, should mirror that and bring those ideas more clearer to the table.
Great. Yeah, and there's another question in the chat box. I see, Stella, I'll just go ahead and address it. It's from Omar and Laura. They own a small pet-friendly lawn business. They are looking for, they've been in business for a couple of years, and any advice in particular for them, I would guess, meaning for the growth of their business, and they're still in the newbie stage. What advice would you have for them, Mike?
That's a great business. As a pet owner and somebody who really feels strongly about it. In fact, we manage assets for Humane Society of Indiana. So it is something that's near and dear to my heart, and I know it is Rosemary's as well. So I would love to see you succeed, and would really relish helping you with any personal advice that you might have necessary. But first and foremost, right? Are you at capacity? Are you near capacity? Are you at a situation where you just need to get your name and message out a little better? And that might be some marketing that might have to happen. And we utilize both SEO and SEM marketing, which we'll cover a little bit in our next segment. Those are internet-based marketing tools, and it's typically something that a lot of small businesses don't utilize. So it's a keyword search for clients to look for you, and those might be those words you just said: a pet friendly, lawn care and maintenance, full service lawn care that protects your pets, and they honestly, those costs are not outrageous. They're way cheaper than putting an ad in the Chicago Tribune.
Exactly.
Well worth it for sure. And I think something, again, we don't want to get too far into the next session here, and because we could talk for the next couple hours, I'm sure of it, about how to build the business. But I think creating a business plan would probably be an important part in revisiting that. And for Omar and Laura, without us being able to sit down and see it currently, that we don't want to expound too much on it, but Rosemary, you probably have some ideas about creating a successful business plan and sticking to it and then
Oh,
revising
yes.
it when needed.
Yes, I would like to tell a funny story. Okay, it happened to me. I wanted to adopt a rescue dog, and that was a while ago. And I did, and I love the dog so much that I wanted to. Oh, and it was from a place not only that had rescue dogs, but they had uh, secondhand furniture that they sold. It was like a resale shop attached to this dog place. It was a wonderful thing to think about, guys, because it was a little bit of room, but they were selling like the harnesses, the toys, and then some things for the kitchen area for dogs and whatever. But what was really funny is I loved this table that they had there. And it was a little bit out of my reach. It was an antique and they were using it for display. And I said, I'll tell you what if I do an event for you? Would you give me that table? And they said, well, if you can raise $5,000. The table wasn't 5,000. But anyway, I said, yeah, I can do that. And they were in a mall. And all I did is I went to Dominic's when it was there. And I talked about their new neighbor down the way, which was the resale shop and the pet shop. And I said, I'm doing a not-for-profit for them. I want to do a big event on 2 Saturdays from now. And I want to know if I can get about 200 hot dogs, hamburgers, that kind of stuff, because I could find the people to help me do that. And then in addition to that, have them out front with the dogs, okay, not inside, but out front. And then I had a person there that was drawing their dog for free, and we raised over $7,000 and I got the table. But what's neat about it was you just reach out. Don't be cautious. Just be that you're a pleasant thing to the community, and everyone after that, they couldn't keep up. The dogs that came in were gone that day, and
Great.
signed up for it. But that's a little bit on the edge of it. But the other part of it is that the gift of curiosity is what's going to bring you forward. Be curious about different things that other people are doing that look good and you're not sure you can handle it. Try it. Try it. I mean, especially with a pet situation. What if somebody did something like that for you or something similar? That was an area that you never thought of or they never thought of in my situation. And it was in the same parking lot. So everybody came. It was wonderful. You just got to think about it and say, oh gosh, that's not going to work. Well, try. The only thing you can lose is time.
The great outside the box thought process, Rosemary, really. I mean, you drove people to the store that you were in front of. You drove people to the Humane Society that you were looking at to help as a benefactor. And, you made them brought in $7,000 when they were probably only asking for, $1,000 for the table. And so it was a significant win-win because that table was donated to them as well. So
yes,
it is an outside the box mentality that helps you win at business. And that's important. So who was helped in that scenario? Every single party. It was a win-win-win-win. And that's how you win at business, when everybody wins.
Wonderful. I appreciate those answers. That was great, guys. I know there have been a few questions coming in about sharing our information for Mike and Rosemary as well as myself. And so we will make sure that information gets out to you guys. There was a question about having a business plan looked at by somebody in the Chicagoland area. I know Mike or Rosemary would gladly review the business plan and give you some perspective on it, as well as myself. So again, you'll have our contact information. If for some reason it gets misplaced, you can always reach out to Geraldine. We'll make sure she has everything you would need to get in contact with us. Again, I know we could speak for another half hour to 45 minutes on, a very direct conversation, but we will save some of it for our next seminar or webinar. We want to thank you guys for joining us today and, sharing your questions and any perspective that you have. I want to say thank you to Mike and Rosemary for all the great insight. And then thank you to Geraldine and Stella for allowing us to be part of this. This has been wonderful. We look to continue to do it going forward. So hopefully you guys will all join us the next time we do this. And I think the big things, the takeaways from today are, one, make sure you have a strong advisory panel. And then two, building on that is when your business grows, as your business matures and changes, so too will your needs for your advisory panel. So make sure to update your advisory panel as you go. And I think Rosemary and Mike would be in agreement with this, that, people might have hurt feelings, but if they are truly partners with you, if you move to a different attorney, they will understand. And so just, be cognizant of that, be cognizant of where your business is, and make adjustments as you go. And then three, and just as importantly, get involved in your community through charity-based organizations. And again, that will bring you some personal satisfaction. And I promise you will meet and develop business relationships within those organizations that will be extremely valuable to the growth of your business. So if there's nothing else today, I will bid adieu to you guys until next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. To receive credit for today's webinar, please log into chicago.gov/BACP certificate. And everyone in this chat, they want to tell you guys thank you. Rosemary, Michael, and Jack. It's a lot of thank yous. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you,
And
Stella.
have a good
everyone.
weekend.
Yeah, it was fun.